All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we're going to cover three today. I'm going to focus really on MBOT and RR. I'll probably cover open. Honestly, it's just really good views, and I got to follow the views, right? But big day on MBOT today. They actually got FDA clearance. There aren't a lot of phrases more important than FDA clearance. You know what I mean? So there's just a lot going on right here. It's really had an amazing 2025 as well. Break all five and fly, to say the least. This thing basically went from 1 to over 4, right? So a lot to love here. And actually, I've mentioned this before. My dad had robotic surgery. There was literally no doctor in the room. A robot did everything, and I just, in my heart, I've always believed that like medical robotic surgery was going to be the future. You know what I mean? His recovery was amazing. Like it was completely positive. You know what I mean? So definitely makes a lot of sense that this is happening, right? RR, look, this had some real big things the last, 2 weeks. There was a partnership that was mentioned. There was some NVIDIA robotic conference that the two brands, NVIDIA Robotics and Richtech Robotics, that they were going to like partner and show together. What I care about is a real lovely catch from that 20 moving out. Again, 8 and the 20 work together, right? And you might slip below one, but the other one should catch you and hopefully throw you right back up. Literally green, red, green today, right? So get me over that 303, and there's going to be a lot to like on RR, all right? And then, like I said, I don't know if I'm going to spend too much time on open. Look, this continues to follow the pattern it's been following, right? So as long as nothing crazier happens, that's going to be the expectation. But yeah, look, we're a little bit high from the 8. We're going to come maybe back down to the 8 and then go back up is kind of the expectation, unless this thing decides to tell us otherwise, right? So yeah, that'll be the 1, 2, 3. You know, really quick on the Discord, there were a lot of other stocks that we talked about. There's some really nice setups out there. We talked about SoundHound over the weekend. That was a really good one. Lone Depot, LDI also continued. I threw out Skin, unit, and a couple others from my scanner. There are some interesting setups going on, and really it's what I'm liking here, right? It's not the prettiest, it's definitely not the prettiest, but as long as it is over the 8 and the 20, all I can assume is the S&P 500 is going to go up, right? When the two lines are a stock's best friend, an index best friend, whatever, all I can think is good, right? And yeah, we've had a couple little scares. I'm not pretending that didn't happen, right? But man, the 8 and the 20 just don't want to let go, right? When we look at NASDAQ, what are we looking at? A much nicer bounce, basically the same doji, but end of the day, we're still holding that 8 and the 20, and we're obviously over it on both of them. Let's wind it out with the Dow Jones. Look, not necessarily the same, but what I am seeing is, once again, this is also over the 8 and clearly the 20, right? So I'm sitting in a place where I'm seeing all three indices looking good. That's obviously going to make my comment that I just said, hey, there's some nice setups out there. There are some nice setups out there. You know what I mean? So we're sitting in a place where Powell is probably going to drop a, you know what? Let me pause this real quick. Let me just flash this because it's well worth discussing. One sec, sorry. Okay, I am back. We are now on the CME Group site. Again, I am not logged in. They do not have my email, not even my fake little chart reader one, right? Let alone my personal stuff. Let's close this advertisement. Right now, we are sitting at 100% ease. Not only that, look, a month ago, there was no expectation of a bigger cut. A week ago, there was no expectation of a bigger cut. Yesterday was the first time all of a sudden they said, you know what, not only are we expecting at least 100% of a regular ease, there's actually even a decent chance we might go bigger and instead of a 0.25 do a 0.5. That actually went up a little bit today, right? So there are crazier assumptions now happening that are now kind of getting the market excited, right? So, look, are rate cuts going to do good to our personal lives, this and that? I have no idea. Like, I'm not an economist. Some people say yes, some people say no. End of the day, the market is happy because ultimately what's going to happen is bigger companies are going to get bigger. And big companies are what are driving the indices. And yeah, I mean, it's, again, probably bad for the littles, but, you know, if you're riding the market, it's the bigs that are carrying it, right? So we're liking the indices. We're liking all three of the indices, and yeah, it makes sense that things are looking nice, right? So with this MBOT one that I'm about to talk about, you've got not only an FDA happiness, but all of a sudden the indices are looking better too, right? So beautiful mix. All that said, before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines. Ooh, excuse me. Well, that's support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So let's get into MBOT. We obviously have to start with the headlines today. FDA clearance, right? That is a monumental milestone. That was a little bit of a tongue twister, but I'm glad I got that out correctly, right? That's huge. You know, I haven't used the phrase much, but I used to consider the FDA kind of like Siskel and Ebert, right? The two movie dudes before, man, I probably aged myself right there, right? But back in the day, there were two dudes on TV and they would give their thumbs up or thumbs down. And if these two dudes gave a thumbs down, oh, it was over. The movie was going to die before it ever went to the theater, right? The FDA, a thumbs up or thumbs down will destroy or will propel a stock's price like the day after. You know what I mean? And yeah, this one came today. As we zoom out, I mean, it actually wasn't the biggest. There were bigger days this year. Look at that. There were actually 2 bigger days this year. I don't even have to draw the line. It was pretty obvious. That said, as I'm coming into 2024, 2023, 2022, I think the easy thing to say is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was the 7th best day since the stock was invented. No, that's not correct. I'm so sorry. Since 2020. The 7th best trading day in the last 5 years ain't too shabby. You know what I mean? So it was a big day. It's actually kind of interesting as I'm seeing it now that there were 2 bigger days, right? But sometimes the rumor of good things is actually better than the good thing, right? Hey, I actually for sure see this thing dropping after hours. I sincerely don't care about that. Yeah, you can kind of say it's a little bit bigger of a fall than you want to see, but honestly, I'm okay with that. Number 1, regular hours mean more than after hours if you watch my videos, right? It's why I wait till the market closes. Number 2, I'm liking this continuation setup is really what we're here for, right? This thing, like I said, has just been bouncing on the moving averages really well. It broke all 5 and flew. From there, definitely a bad fall, but the 100 does the job, actually does it twice. And then from there, we've just been bouncing on the 8 and the 20 and then the occasional 50, right? So all I can really assume here is that the moving averages are actually the stock's friend right now, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There's been more slips than you probably want to see, but I think it's been stabilizing a little bit, right? Maybe that's not the nicest right there, but it could have gone a lot. Like I'm basically what I'm trying to say is this crazy green to red wasn't as, but I guess it was as hardcore because really you basically took it all back. I'm gonna take it all back. Yeah, don't worry about all that. What I will say is this. Look, I am liking the continuation. That's at least the point I was trying to make. You've got green over red on both the MACD and the RSI. 71 is a little high, but what I'm seeing is we're basically living right here, right? And almost picturesque. Let me draw the line. Right, I'm basically taking the main horizontal on this RSI. almost picture perfect, the RSI bounce right there, just like a moving average bounce, like saves right there, right? So there's some solid RSI support that just happened. We literally just took that same bounce point all the way up to, what is this, an 82. I gotta think at least the 71 is gonna want to go up to the same 82. And hey, maybe the fact that there was more volume here and kind of cooler news, like I said, FDA approval is a really big thing. Maybe that'll even let us go above 82 and start to test 90 on that RSI, right? But again, green over red on both, obviously big volume. I am wondering if we're gonna pump and dump. That's definitely a question that I do have in the back of my head because, yeah, again, as you looked at all of those 7 days over this, pump and dump, 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 pump and dump was literally the exact same pattern of all the last 6, right? So this can't dump tomorrow, all right? So what are we looking for? Dude, we're looking for at the bare minimum 20 million. I wanted to see if I can like swallow a lower number, but we really can't. What's this one? This is 20 right there, right? 21. Yeah. Even that 20 million that I'm saying is actually below today. It's actually what, 33% lower, right? I'm kind of rounding. I'm going from 30 to 20, right? But it's a decent drop in volume, but that's the bare minimum. It's actually 3 million, right? Because if I want 20 in a 7-hour day, oh, I did divide by 3. If I want 20 million in a 7-hour day, we're roughly looking for 3 million shares, right? But what we really do want is 30 million shares. That'll be more than the 27, 28 that we got today, right? If we can get 30 million shares in tomorrow's 7-hour day, we want a little closer to 4 point something. Right? Give me that 4.5, call it 9 million shares in that second hour. If MBOT has that, that could be a real nice thing actually, all right? I'm already seeing that post-market go up just a little bit. I think we were a little bit lower earlier. Again, I really don't care about post-market. That's not the game, right? So it does seem like $5 is going to be next because at just the bare minimum, this is basically the first time we're trading in this 4 to 5 channel since back in 2022, right? Those were the last sustained candles in this channel. That's just a one-time nothing. That's just a one-time nothing, and that's our today, right? So this has been a bear channel for the last 2 full years. And then from there, I think it's that. Because all I see is red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 green, 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 right? Like just a bunch of red, just a bunch of up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. There's a decent path to 6 here, in all honesty, all right? Again, we need to confirm. We got to start with volume tomorrow, right? That's going to be important, but yeah. I think I'm actually looking for 5 tomorrow. What's this number? Oh, that's what we wicked. Yeah, I think tomorrow our bare minimum is actually going to be $4.80. At that point, I'm basically thinking $5. That is my expectation for tomorrow. Look, I would raise this line just a little bit, probably to there. It's actually the top of that, almost perfectly 50% of that. This thing is very bullish as low as 415. Hopefully it doesn't lose 415, right? But yeah, even if this came down to 415, it actually is still very, very bullish. There's a lot to like here on MBOT. And look at this weekly chart, right? It's not necessarily beautiful because candle is over, no confirmation. Candle is over, that's a doji. That's a good candle right there. And maybe that 1, 2, 3, some people would say is enough for confirmation. Personally, I like back to back, so I would want this one and the next one. It obviously didn't happen. Maybe it's going to be this week and next week, especially as I'm seeing a good MACD. And like I said, look at that 70 RSI, and it wasn't that long ago. It was actually just the beginning of the year. We were at an 89 on the RSI on the weekly, right? So there is a lot to like here. 5 does seem next, and it actually, the weekly is kind of saying I can raise my 5 line almost to 525. I don't think we need to, but yeah, one last thing I'll leave it with again. My dad literally had robotic surgery. It was actually a while ago now too. It was before COVID, I think. And for real, he met the doctor once, never met the doctor again. The only people he interacted with was the anesthesiologist that put him under, and then the nurse that was there just before and after. Otherwise, for all we know, the doctor was at home in the underwear, feet up, just with the joystick, you know, cutting my dad open, doing the thing, putting him back. Robotic surgery, right? Like you want the precision of a robot. Why over human hands? And you can train a human over what? 20 years. I think med school is crazy, especially surgery, right? And let's even go hardcore surgeries, right? Like the education time of a human versus a robot is night and day, right? So a lot of expectation on robotics. Do I know if this is going to be the company? There's another one we follow called RBot, right? Like I don't know who's going to win, but robotic surgery is not going to go away, especially as AI and quantum stuff gets that much better, right? So look, let me know your thoughts, let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's come take a look at RR, and I can easily say this is one of my favorite tickers, all right? I'm always here to just kind of keep things impartial. I always say they're just random letters, and we're here letting the lines do their job, right? But I really like tech stocks, and I was really into RR and Serve, and I feel like I've flipped this one a bunch of times actually during this year. You know what I mean? So this one does have a little special place in my heart. What you can easily see, because this is actually a perfect view right here. This is the full year. The entire story is this $3 line. Look, good candle, no confirmation. Good candle, no confirmation. Good candle, no confirmation. Fail, and never touched it until basically recently. And again, good candle, no confirmation, and we're not over it yet. The entire year has been dictated by this $3 line. Now, don't get me wrong, it made a great move from 2 to 3, and that's a beautiful percentage right there, right? So just escaping these moving averages was really important. But yeah, talk about just pure dominance on this resistance, right? So this is going to be a very critical line to get over, and I like what's happening now. We've at least tested it, and it seems like we're going to test it again immediately, right? So no guarantee, it might not, and we might never go up there tomorrow, right? But this is a nice setup right here. Once again, we've got green over red on the MACD, and as I look at it, I don't even think, yeah, look, actually, if you look in the box right there, the green and the red are the exact same number at 0.20. And as I zoom in, I'm assuming that third decimal that's not visible here is actually bigger on the green one, because the green one is above it, right? So we actually never lose green over red on the MACD. All of a sudden, the RSI flips because that one was red over green before, right? So I like that they now both have green over red, right? That's the unison we want on these two different indicators. Now just give me a little bit more, let them both start to diverge, start to take off in the right direction, right? Break that 3, and I actually have more than 4 after that, right? Because just look at, this is a beautiful window right here, right? Nothing, green, red, same nothing that we just started this on, right? And as I keep zooming out, it's basically been the entirety of the life of this stock. I kind of made that repetitive, and I apologize, but it's never, this is going to be a very fast channel if it breaks, all right? There's a lot to like over 303. When you look at the weekly as well, this is basically trying to do what the daily did, right? Let's talk about the moving averages. If you watch my videos, you know I hate it when there's too many lines too close to each other. Literally all 5 were too close to each other, and I call it a tornado. You get thrown down, sucked up, thrown down, sucked up, thrown down. Literally, if you're not even at the it's so unpredictable. I've seen crazier drop downs and crazier fly ups. You know what I mean? But it now kind of seems like we're getting ready to take off. We definitely need one more good confirmation, because the last thing you want to do is just get sucked back into the things. And I'm telling you, I've seen it before, right? So this is a very critical 303 line, all right? Not too much more I can say. I don't think I saw any new news or anything like that. I don't remember when the NVIDIA, you know what? I can check the Discord. I know that for sure. RR NVDA. This one right here, because I know I put a screenshot of it. When is it? No, this isn't it. Is it this? No, it's not this. It wasn't this. This is too old. Maybe it is. Hold on. You would see sometimes not rehearsing things messes things up. I don't know, but like I said, there was some conference that's supposed to happen. I don't know why. I thought it was in October. Nonetheless, I don't think I saw any real news. I am calling this a technical bounce. Yeah, that's kind of it. One more time, get over 303, and I'm expecting 470 right there. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Look, I'm gonna end it with open right here, and really, this is not a great day. No one wants to eat a 9% loss, right? Trust me, it's no one wants to do that. But right now, this is continuing to follow the patterns that we were expecting. All right. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I do remember a couple things. We are bullish as long as we stay over 560. I remember saying there's going to be a decent drop if we fell to it, but we should stay over the 8 moving average, and that is our 50% candle right there. And the other thing we talked about is, especially since lately, let's just zoom in right here. What the stock tends to do is go really far high away from the 8, then come back to the 8 before it bounces and goes really high from the 8, then comes back to the 8 and then uses it to bounce really high from it. I'm assuming we're going to be coming right back down to it, right? And probably over the next couple days, right? Just kind of following this slope. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday, give or take, is when the green 8 moving average should get around that 550. So as long as we kind of stay right there over the next couple days, this is going to gain that much more strength as a support because it's a line and a moving average. And if we were to lose that 550, I guess for now, yeah, if we were to lose 540, let's use 540. If we lose 540, my next expectation is we're going to drop to 430. That's probably where things start to get a little on the extra dicey side. And again, that's not changing from my video over the week. We don't want to go below 550 because, again, coming down to this is not going to be good. But if we maintain the same thing we've been doing, it should continue from there, right? And again, the goal at this point is go to the next tranche up, which is this right here. I can zoom in real quick, right? It's just so much red, 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 green, 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 and literally haven't been over this line for a while, right? So nothing has changed over the last couple days. Hey, look, volume also wasn't bad today, right? Even though it was a loss of a day, we were still pushing nearly 500 million shares, and we were nicely over the 50-day line, right? So I am still relatively all good with this. One thing I think is easy to say is there were so many other crazy tickers flying. There was 2,000% ones, a couple 100% ones, etc., right? It took a little bit of attention and love away from this, right? My expectation is most of those aren't going to really continue, right? So hopefully attention comes back to this, and really more than anything, just don't lose the 8 moving average and keep bouncing on it like it has been, and we'll all be fine, right? So let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you so, so much.